Hey, Goldaz here. Back with another gameplay commentary. What I got for you today is a Theater of Pain out of 10. So, as kind of usual, just going to go through my thought processes as I'm playing, any kind of tips or tricks that I can offer. But yeah, let's get straight into it. So, first things first, we're coming straight down the ramp here into the first pack. Some groups do skip this. If you have the right composition, you know, rogue skips, etc. But for this one and for percentage, the route that we've done, we find it just simple enough to deal with it straight away. So the main thing here is that the Bloodhorn does this big tantrum, as we're seeing right now, massive AoE, so popping personals and things like that is obviously hugely important and beneficial to your healer. I did drop my Infernal, Malevolence, everything, just popped it all here. There probably is a debate to hold on to your Infernal and save it for actually pulling the boss. You'll see in about 10 seconds my 1 minute's come back up. But it's not too bad. One thing to call out as well in this build is that I have gone for Soulfire over Channel Demon Fire. Based on our composition, you know, Unholy and a Beastmaster, Unholy Decay, Beastmaster, Hunter, I just felt it was much more beneficial for me to double down on kind of single target damage and let the other two classes cleave. Destro does excel in kind of single target and AoE. They're pretty good at both with Channel Demon Fire. However, I think just that little bit of extra single target damage is pretty good in Theater of Pain. You don't really have these big, huge packs. There's a couple scenarios, and I'll call them out when we come across them, that AoE is kind of important, but for the composition that we have, I've really kind of leaned into doing more single target damage. And as you can see here, holding a pretty consistent 3.4-ish million DPS while all three of them are up. Now we're down to 2 of them, and then just kind of getting a bit into this boss, probably a little bit too late, but you'll notice that I was focusing the Accursed. So there's the caster, and then second is this Decapitator as well. So that's kind of the priority, the Accursed, caster, Decapitator, and then the Virulent as the final boss, so to speak. The mechanics here are pretty straightforward. Every now and again you'll get a circle around every group member. That circle basically leaves this kind of green gunk, as you can see, on the floor. Try to stack as much as possible to kind of reduce the area that's covering, and then move around the room in a circle just to make sure that you always have somewhere to stand. The next mechanic, perfect timing as if it knew that I was going to say it next, is that big frontal as well. So the frontal coming out, just obviously dodge it. Nothing crazy there. But in terms of kind of the priority, the Accursed, whatever that guy's name that just died, Desi the Decapitator, Desaya or whatever, and then we get this Virulent here. So pretty straightforward boss, should be simple enough. Somewhat a DPS check based on like the room covering, etc., but never run into any issues with that myself. This is kind of one of those dungeons where you are just moving around a lot, you are running around a lot. There's a bit of downtime and waiting. Usually I pop my health stones here, for example, just to make sure that everyone in the group has one, just in case they used it while they were in the middle of the boss fight. But the route that we prefer here is first going, and I don't know all the boss names actually, I need to learn all of these if I'm going to be doing commentating. The first boss we go to is the guy who throws down the banner, and he makes 2 of you fight each other. The reason for this is just based around Lust timings. We just used Lust there. We probably won't have Lust for this next boss after going down the kind of gauntlet that's in front of us, so to speak. And right here, I'm just holding off my Infernal and Malevolence, whatever it's called. I'm still struggling with that. Just until we pull in the big guy. But this is kind of part of the reason that I'm playing a much more single target focused build here. I want to be able to really go hard on these kind of mini bosses. And it's kind of the theme of this dungeon scattered around. It's slightly smaller packs that you just have to manage as well. A call out here or a strategy for the blades on the floor. Arguably one of the harder ones that you can get from RNG. But just stacking as a group ensures that they all kind of land in the exact same place. They'll start heading in very similar directions. And you'll always have a little bit of the room open. This is the best room to get this guy in, simply because it's bigger than what's coming up. So that you have more room to basically work with as well. So this is a great example of the stacking. We all stacked, they all spawned on top of each other. That looks like one big blade. Now, obviously, if you stand in that, you're going to get hit by like 3 or 4 of them at the same time. So try and avoid running into a scenario like that. Bloodthirster here as well. Very much one of the easier bosses, to be honest. Pretty good RNG so far. We got the worst one, in my opinion, in the big room. And we got the nice easy one here from the Bloodthirster. So basically there's a ricochet mechanic where you have to kind of stand out a little bit. And then she does a full-on charge. The kind of best practice here is just sticking to the stairs, putting a gate up here, for example, if you need to. And then, yeah, just burn her down. Very, very simple. Not a lot of mechanics here. But another reason why I've kind of gone for this Soulfire build, because we're just doing a lot of single targets. This is going to happen once more, again, when we're really just focusing on that single target. You notice my cooldowns come up. However, I'm holding on to them for this next patrol that you'll see here to the left. The captain in there is pretty dangerous. There's a lot of damage going out there. So just having Infernal Stun and just the most possible damage is pretty huge here. So we make light work of that and then move into the kind of the pack pull here. So blowing everything here. I will say for some classes, just consider your cooldowns, because after this there's one more mini boss, so to speak. And then we're straight into the boss fight as well. So if you have 2-minute cooldowns, it lines up pretty nicely, actually. So I should be getting into the next boss fight with my Infernal up and ready to go. But just depending on your cooldowns. I don't think anybody has anything greater than like a 3-minute. Like, actually, I don't even know, is Army of the Dead still in the game? That's something I need to check on. Or is that like a 5-minute cooldown now and it's much easier? But you usually save that for bosses anyway. I'm talking about kind of, you know, Bestial Wrath here, for example, or, you know, summoning your, whatever it's called that the DKs summon, their big scary ghoul. Those kind of things as well. Just pop them on cooldown, get ready to go. Great timed emissary here. And the hardened one here as well. This is a pretty simple one too. We don't have as much room on the floor here as well, but again, we're just going into the single target scenario here. Whirlwind there, so kind of standing out a little bit, making sure that you're not, you know, in range, eligible even to be hit by anything. Super simple mini boss here for the range players in your group. If you are a melee player, a little bit more difficult. You kind of just have to manage this whirlwind in and out. Hokey pokey, basically, is what we're playing here. And she should go down pretty quickly here as well. So good damage here, but you know, myself and the Hunter pumping out 2 million single target here. It's huge. My Infernal is just coming back off cooldown. So yeah, we're able to melt this nice and quickly and get ourselves moving for the boss fight here as well. So this boss fight is pretty simple as well. There are some very punishing mechanics here if you get your timings right or you're not focusing on the banner, but the high level overview is they have a couple of different abilities. The first one is spawning this banner here. This banner basically gives him an attack buff and also reduces your movement speed. Actually, I don't know if it gives him an attack buff. I need to double check myself on that one. But it definitely gives you a movement speed reduction. So you need to burn down that banner to be able to basically handle this next mechanic. And it's these massive cleaves. So he has 3 different cleaves. One of them is right in front of him. There's kind of a circle that appears on the ground. However, it goes all the way to the edge of the room. So you need to dodge that. The next one can potentially be a circle around him that leaves the outsides of the room as the safe zone. And then the other one is he picks half of the entire room as well. So basically you want to stay tight in as close as you can towards him to help to reduce the amount of movement you need to do. So if you're in tight there, you dodge that cleave and you have the ability to kind of get to whatever quadrant or whatever half of the room rather is available. And then you also saw that you can get pulled down as well. There's a little bit of kind of cooldown management that needs to happen there as well. If you have a feeling that you're going to be pulled down, or you know, you don't want to pop your Infernal and then immediately just lose all of that damage, Maybe try and save it until you come up, so that you have the ability to kind of just pop them when you know you're going to be up there for a little while, and you get the maximum value out of that spell. There is also a like a disrupting shout as part of that, the whirlwind, so the circle where the outskirts are safe. That one does give you a you know, like you'll get spell locked, for example, or interrupted if you do cast here. So when you come down here, actually, something that some people don't know, you actually see it on the kind of right middle of my screen. There is a DPS increase for winning the battle. So there, generally, it's kind of, hey, don't interrupt, don't kick. We're going to just blast each other, and whoever kills the other one kills them. Really played with fire there, actually, just on the screen. Didn't get out in time there. I should have gotten out a lot quicker. But whoever wins the fight gets a 10% damage increase. Whoever loses the fight does get a 10% damage down. So there is some strategy there. If you are playing with somebody who's excelling in single target or just has their cooldowns ready, potentially try and let them win the fight. However, if they just do really low P2P damage and you're going to be down there forever, don't worry about it. The priority is just getting back up regardless of who the buff gets put on here. So we killed that boss. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And our next pathing here is going to be through the different portals. So this right here is kind of like a running gauntlet. The general strategy here is that you just let your tank go first, aggro these souls, and while the whole group just kind of runs to get around the corner here from this door on the left, try and get them all stacked up. I played with fire there, literally. Had my feet on, took a circle, so very fortunate to actually not have died there. So yeah, just call that out, that those circles will one-shot most classes. I don't know how I lived, to be completely honest there, but basically you want to get all the way through that, start to stun, interrupt, kick, all that kind of stuff. They do put chains on you that does a bit of damage and also slows you. They're pretty frustrating. They're not particularly deadly this pack, but if you don't group them up correctly, it can, you know, can be difficult, especially when you have an unholy DK doing, I saw 6 million there, but I guess it was probably higher at a certain point in that pool. So yeah, my guy rank up there doing absurd damage. I know they're kind of small adds, and you know, unholy DK goes crazy in that scenario, but the faster you kill them, the faster you get moving, which is great to see from the, you know, the classes prioritizing that cleave in the comp. We've generally always gone left here for both of these. Quick tip as well, actually, by the way, every time you go through these gates, you get a full heal. So if you are a healer, don't worry about topping your team up right at the end of these pulls. They'll be, you know, automatically put back to full the second that the second that you basically finish it or move on to the next section. So the way that the layout is here is there's two of these kind of small platforms and two quite large platforms that you kind of go through. So this one is very straightforward. There's just a couple of souls and one caster. When we get to the next section here, there's going to be two casters, and then we had a little bit of an issue clicking the portal here. Emissary spawned and fell all the way to Narnia down there. I don't know if you guys got that. The emissary's at the bottom of the screen right now, that little red X. So we weren't able to get rid of it. The emissary did actually buff these mobs, however, it was very minimal. But we were a little annoyed by that the buff even got applied to the mobs. But anyway, my general strategy here is to focus down the Magus, and then the Soulbinder, just basically casters first, and then onto the Guardian. The Guardian doesn't really do anything super difficult. It just does kind of big pulsing AoE damage. And then also I think it does spawn circles on the screen as well, so you just, or circles on the ground as well. Or maybe that's the next one. Yeah, this guy just does the Soulstorm, AoE, damage, pop your personals, help your healer out, and everything should be fine. Going to the left here, we do have, this is kind of one of the more lethal packs as well. So these are two of the Dark Speakers, but they do casts that you need to interrupt, but also this is the most deadly, you know, mechanic throughout this entire section. It's pretty well named as Death Winds, and basically the way that these work is that they shoot this big tornado at you, and if you don't dodge, you will get knocked off the ledge and you will die. I got super lucky there. Well, kind of a right death. I deserved that death. I did get saved by that little pillar there, but if you don't dodge these winds, as you literally can see on the screen, you're dead. Death winds will knock you off the platform. We've actually had a bit of a collapse here. I think what actually happened is we did not plan on pulling. I know some routes do it. We did not plan on pulling all of the ads to the right-hand side there. One of the great things about Paladins is that they just get so many interrupts that it's crazy. One of the tough things about Paladins is that sometimes their shield just has a mind of its own. It just goes absolutely crazy and pulls stuff that's kind of close as well. So a little bit unfortunate here, but I don't mind putting these things in videos or even keeping them in videos, because it just shows people out there that one wipe isn't the end of the world. This is arguably the worst walkback possible in this dungeon. Well, maybe if we were on one platform further, but we're losing a ton of time here, yet everything's still safe. You know, we can still, you know, fix this. It'll be all right, you know? So now the group's getting back, just putting down health stones, making sure that I have my pet summoned, checking that everything's good, starting with a cataclysm, kicking that the guy on the left, and then just popping all my cooldowns because they're up. This has probably slightly put my cooldowns out of sorts, but a great tip actually, and I've only done it this time because I failed last time, is if you do put your portal down, or your personal teleport, I don't know the official name for that actually, but basically if you do get hit by those winds, you can immediately just go back to your teleport location and you'll be fine as well. This dot as well, it can be dispelled by certain healers. Unfortunately, the monk is not one of those. So basically it's painful here. If you have the dot, you have to move. It's really making your casting difficult as well. So really, really difficult pack. Well, it's not super difficult if you're dodging the waves, but just more of a annoying pack, I guess, for any caster classes. Especially if you're playing like Demonology, for example, and you kind of wanted to plant yourself a bit more. You have those longer cast times. You're a bit more of a turret. This is not the funnest route. If you go to the right, you replace those two casters with, similar to the platform before, you replace it with the Bone Storm, kind of whatever that guy was. You'll see him below here. So just AoE damage as well. So it's kind of preference. Those guys are easier to kill. They have a little bit less health, I believe. But, you know, that bit more deadly with the Death Winds cast as well. This one was a perfect example of me using that portal to save my life. I actually got myself hit by casting the portal, so a little bit of a oxymoron, I guess. But glad that I was able to kind of demonstrate that, hey, this is a great way to save yourself in case of oh, I made a massive mistake moment. So pretty much last millisecond, I got very fortunate with that, but yeah, that's how it goes. That's how you time keys. You got to make these kind of plays and just keep yourself aware, keep your eyes open, make sure that you're kind of looking out for these mechanics. And if you have fails and you have the capabilities of putting in a backup plan, make sure that you're putting in that backup plan every single time. Just go practice. I think at any higher of a key, I would just be dead by just making contact. But yeah, them are the breaks. So yeah, the reason for our route going to the previous boss first is now we have Lust up available for this boss, and then that should also enable Lust for the final boss as well. So basically the strategy here is to dodge these orbs that got spawned. If you do get Well of Darkness, pop a little bit of a cooldown, help your healer out. Continue to manage kicks and making sure that no casts are getting through from the boss. And then also stack together as a group. We've generally picked this right-hand side here. The whole group will stack. I'm going to put down a Cataclysm here just to get shard generation, but my focus is straight back on the boss. So I'm not even going to put a Rain of Fire down. I'm just going to go full Chaos Bolts into this, let my team clean up the ads. They have big AoE specs. They're good at cleaning all of that up. So my boss damage here is pretty huge. We're quite lucky there, actually. A cast did get through. Emissary has spawned, so I'm not even targeting her right now, so this is bad for me. There we go, I get on it. I notice I have Havoc, so I get straight back onto the boss, but Touch of Death from our Monk is pretty broken against the Emissary. So Jinx is just able to go, you know, one tap it. Basically, it's dead. And now I'm just kind of staying towards the edge. There is a little bit of a spot here, I forget exactly where, that you can kind of just stand right against the edge and you will dodge all of those orbs. So, same thing again here. Get my Cataclysm down. I was going to cap on shards, so I did throw a Rain of Fire down this time, just to help out. But the priority here now is just Chaos Bolt, Chaos Bolt, Chaos Bolt. Get as much damage into this boss as possible. And the rest of the team will kind of clean things up. So, as you saw there, actually, this spot right here, I'm pretty much immune to these orbs. I don't believe that they can get me. So I can just sit here and cast all day long, which is awesome. This orb might actually prove me wrong. Yes, I do have to move a little bit forward, but that's the only one. I could stand a little bit further back and not have that issue. So we're coming up to the end of this boss here. Pretty straightforward boss, nothing crazy, nothing crazy difficult. You do just want to have that lust, just to speed it up, to be honest. This boss can go on a while. It can, you know, lead to that kind of fatigue of fighting the boss, where you drop a little bit of concentration, then you forget to stack, or, you know, 100 different reasons why that, you know, lust just helps you there. Just get through it. Mainly because it's the last boss timer just lines up a lot nicer. This next boss here, you do not need... Gore Chop is just super straightforward. You do not need to have lust on it as well. It's very much just a simple mechanic check. And if you don't pass that mechanic check, well then, you know, you're going to be in trouble. This corridor here is pretty straightforward. These ads do have a pretty nasty dot, as you just saw there. So there's Meat Shield, and then I don't actually know the name of the cast. Decaying Filth. It's going to get off again. No. There's a cast that comes through here. It's not Decaying Filth or the Meat Shield. I missed the name of it. But just make sure that you're prioritizing kicks here, just in general. Nothing should be getting through. More of a healer kind of problem, so to speak. But again, it's a team sport that we're playing right now. We need to make sure that we're helping everything here. So you pick up this pack here, and then there's also actually something I'm not doing right now that I should be doing is stacking here. If you stack, basically the jumpers don't go very far. They'll just jump 2 or 3 inches and everything is going to be fine. Something discharge. I just saw the important cast there that didn't go through, thankfully. So melt these down, and then you have the choice here of either going left or right. There's no right or wrong answer here. It's simply down to the current state of the pathing of the ad that's in on the left. So, or the left or the right, rather. So our tank accidentally gets a little hasty because we're tight on time here. The timer isn't our friend right now. I did think I was okay here, just standing to the right, but obviously I wasn't. So pointless death there from myself. Made the call, kind of saying, do we res, do we release? Was told to release, so did that very quickly. Now just running back, basically, getting ready to rejoin the gang. And now that we've killed this mob, you know, the left path is completely clear. We come to the last kind of corridor after this, making our way towards the final boss fight. This, I'm kind of screwed. I'm in a bad situation, so I simply just elect to outrange it. Just run as far as I can. Pop myself a little health stone and a dark pack just to make sure that I'm healthy-ish. I didn't want to stand on this stuff on the ground. It does a lot of damage, but eventually I had to make the decision. We would have lost too much time there. So right now we're getting a little, not panicky, but, you know, we're definitely of the mindset of go, 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 go. It's getting tight. We can't have any more mistakes or afford any more mistakes. So we're getting locked in here now, going for a bigger pull than we usually would. By walking down just a little bit, you proc these little guys jumping down. So basically just throwing out stuns, rain of fire, it's just helping to melt down all the small ads. And then eventually getting onto both the Butcher and the Horror as the kind of priority tanky ads. Much closer here now, doing the mechanics correctly, trying to make sure that the jumpers can't go very far. I have a pretty nasty dot on myself right now, so pop a health stone again, try and help my healer out. And kick meat shields, things like that. Obviously, I burned my interrupt there. Accidentally had it on the butcher when the horror cast. I just eat that frontal. In the moment, I thought I was safe. Looking back on the video right now for the the first time, absolutely just took it to the dome. Player error, individual mistake, whatever you want to call it. Do pop myself a little hammer here. I think I was at something like 40% durability, so I don't think it would have made a major difference to my DPS. I think I probably have one more death before my gear gets into that kind of state. But I'm always just of the mindset of making sure that you're repaired as much as possible. There's no point on having your gear at 20% or whatever before you do it. Just every time you have the opportunity, just repair, make sure you're doing fine. Here I have my Burning Rush on, and I'm kind of like hesitant about how low I should get. So you'll notice that I turn it on, turn it off, take the time here without my my quick pet summon ability. I'm screwed here, so I just do the slow cast. And anyway, go on up. Join this pack here, and once I'm here, I think we're going to hit 1 or 2 more spells and then get straight into the boss. Again, 7 minutes left. We're pretty tight on the timer here. Kick that meat shield, and I have all my cooldowns here, so now it's just time to blast as much as possible. Because I've gone for that single target build, like I've said, with the Soulfire, I am going to do a lot of damage here to this boss, so that should hopefully help us. There is a bit of movement in this room here, and if you're not making sure that the leftovers are getting taken care of, they can become a little bit overwhelming. They do start to do a lot of damage to you, to your team, so just try to make sure you're doing your best, just really making sure that you're cleaving off them or even focusing them depending on your spec. Right now, like I've said kind of throughout the video, we've got Wolfie on the Beast Hunter, rank up on the DH, so it's a lot of cleave, like dots, just a lot of passive damage coming out onto these leftovers. But you do see now that I'm actually fully focusing these leftovers right now just to get them down. They've been doing a lot of damage. The call went out to make sure that we got them. And like, as you can see, if you're not on the ball, 2 more have just spawned. So these leftovers basically come out with every passage of the chains. In terms of the mechanic of this boss, it's pretty straightforward. You saw these chains come down from the wall. He does a quick pull before that. So there's a tank buster there called Hateful Strike. He does do this pull in, this tenderizing smash, which always will line up with when these chains are about to come across the room. So you basically try and position yourself either very close to the boss so you don't get pulled in, or with the knowledge that you're about to get pulled in, you know, just kind of make sure that you're being aware, looking around the room, seeing which side the chains are coming from and where your safe zones are. Nice little trick as a Warlock is that you can put your port down in the middle of the room or wherever you want. I should actually probably change mine now, put it a little bit more central, but if you do find yourself in a spot of bother, you can always run all the way to the edge. And then it is a little bit finicky, so make sure that your timing is good. You do it at the very last second if possible, to get onto your port there so that you dodge the change as well. So you'll see here now we have 2 of these leftovers up. We have an emissary. I'm probably a little bit too far away. I'm causing these leaps to come out to me. I don't know if they target furthest. Now that I'm watching this right now, that might be the mechanic. I feel like I'm getting not all of the jumps now actually, but I'm getting most of them. Right here, I should have ported. You see that I spammed it there afterwards after I took the dot. Dark Pact, Healthstone, just to make sure this dot really does hit hard. As you can see here, I'm on 30% of my health, maybe a little bit less, 26 I think I see there. Or, I don't know, in my editing software, it's very hard to see. Another tip as well is when you go through this port, you do fully heal as well, so that's why I turn my Burning Rush back on. I say, oh yeah, actually I can just do this, get a full heal. Back to full health, ready to take on the final boss. So we come in here with 4 minutes and Lust available. So basically, if you wipe, it's over. If we don't wipe, we've got this boss. So really down to the wire here. With the RP going on, we're looking at around 340, 337, I think, for when this boss is actually targetable. So the way that we generally do this is pretty much tank her right beside where she spawns. I put my gate there, People tried to get food in. I don't know if they were successful or not. I didn't think that we had enough time, so I just made sure that I was setting up correctly. So yeah, basically tanker pretty much beside exactly where she spawns, and then there's a couple of mechanics. This is a 2-phase boss, so she starts out differently than she finishes. So the first thing to pay attention to here is the frontal that comes out, Dark Devastation. She basically just does a beam in kind of a 30-degree circle, I guess, or whatever. So very slight movement. So it's not going to go 360. She's not going to go fully around herself. And then this as well is there's a grip mechanic or like a rift there, as you saw, that will pull or grip anyone towards it. But then there's also another mechanic where you have that circle around you, you take moderate damage, but then spawn and add as well. So the tactic there is to stack nice and tightly, but not overlapping on top of each other, so that you're spawning all the adds as close as possible. And then, you know, throwing out interrupts, stuns, you know, racials if you have the ability to silence through a racial, things like that, just to make sure that you're really knocking them down. And then she'll do Dark Devastation here again, which is the frontal. Use my port just to make sure that I'm dodging that. And that's kind of it. The generally accepted tactic here as well is that you lust at about 50%. This time here, you'll see that the adds have spawned without the rift. So the rift is now coming in now, but this is also the indication of the phase change at 50% or so. So when this phase changes, generally people pop lust because it's quite difficult just in this transition here. So lusting for damage, but mainly for healing, to be honest, just to make sure that everybody can survive and get through that okay. And then what starts to happen is these kind of ghosts get brought into the fight. So there's two different types of ghosts. There's the one that we just saw that is a charger, basically 4 kind of ghosts on some kind of mounts. They spawn and they run the whole way across the arena. And then there's the other one where there's just kind of like warriors, I guess, for lack of a better term. And those warriors will just have a fight, basically. But if you're in their AoE or in their general area, they will hit you. You will take damage from it as well. So now we have about a minute left, or just coming up to a minute. So everything's going pretty well right now. We're on 8% right now. I've just popped my Infernal, so I have tons of damage coming out. And I'm in that mindset right now as I'm just pressing all my buttons. I'm not going to stop targeting the boss. And thankfully we get it down. So this is my Keystone Hero. And also a portal for Theater of Pain. So really happy with that run. And thanks so much for watching.